Hi everyone, my name is Regan. Today I'm joined by Elaine, and we were going to try to have a chat about smartphones. In particular, maybe something about smartphone addiction, something about banning smartphones. And the reason I wanted to talk about this is because I saw an article in a newspaper here in New Zealand yesterday, and on the front page it said that they were thinking about banning smartphones in schools, high schools in particular, and probably middle schools and primary schools as well. And what struck me as interesting is that I know that in China, smartphones are already banned in schools. Not universities though, but people don't really use them that much in university. But can you tell us a little bit about why maybe smartphones are banned in Chinese high schools and middle schools, and what effect that is having? Like, does it have more of a positive effect? You know, why is it like that? Can you tell us something about that?
首先，如果学生把手机带到教室，他们肯定会分心，会去玩手机，因为现在我们的手机能够收到各种各样的通知，手机太好玩了，在中国，各种各样的社交软件也不需要社交软件，就玩游戏、看小说，然后购物，各种各样的，而且手机上不停的会收到各种各样的通知，告诉你，哎，有人给你发消息，最近有一个什么活动，很容易上课手机屏幕一亮，然后就去分心，就没有再听老师讲课，所以老师就会禁止学生在课堂上使用手机。
What is that? 禁止
forbidden.
禁止 forbidden.
对
To make it forbidden.
对
Okay, so there's a lot of temptation
对
to use your phone, and Elaine said that there is a lot of different things you can do on your phone
对
during class, and it's all just distractions.
对，
right?
而且对于初中生、高中生，他们在中国课堂上学习，可能并不是他们自愿想要做的事情，他们本来也没有很强的自律。
What's that?
self-discipline，
Yes.
对，没有很强的自律能力，所以他们很容易就被手机上各种各样的信息分心。
Okay, and so young people don't have good self-discipline, right?
对啊，
Interesting though, because sometimes I wonder maybe they don't have the self-discipline because they haven't had the time to develop the self-discipline, to use phones. It's really heavily controlled in China, having a smartphone. So what happens if students get caught taking their phones to class or using their phones in class? Like, what kind of punishments are there?
这个取决于他们老师是怎么管理班级的。有的老师他就比较和善，比较善良，看到你玩手机会提醒你收起来。但是如果他再看到第二次、第三次，把你的手机拿走，等放学了给你，或者是先不给你，让你的父母、让你的家长来我这儿把手机领回去。但是也有比较极端的，就是可能老师比较脾气暴躁这样子。我初中的时候很严格，我的班主任很严格，班上有同学带手机来，然后玩手机被发现了，直接把他的手机摔到地上，就把手机摔碎，然后扔掉。
Okay, so there's different levels, like different teachers will do different things. I think Elaine is being very nice in her explanation, too nice, because I've heard a lot of stories, bad stories about students' phones being taken away. Like she did say that the teachers will often take away the phones and then maybe you get it back after class. And then I've also heard some stories about phones being taken and that you don't get it until the end of the semester.
也有这样子的，也有。
And sometimes I've heard where you don't get your phone back at all.
Yeah.
And I've heard about stories of students like following teachers home and like begging teachers to get their phones back, and parents sometimes I feel like Chinese parents are kind of more on the side of the teachers. Like the parents respect the teachers' view more than their children about phones. Like, would you agree with that?
我十分同意，对，是这样子的。如果你是一位在公立学校里面有着非常正当的，就是你是一个被聘请的老师在学校里面，那你是会得到家长的尊重。 家长会很尊敬你，然后我的孩子随便你打，随便你骂，就是只要让他把成绩提高，让他学好，就只要你想做什么都可以。对。
That's kind of funny. So, I mean, it's not funny. I'm not laughing at that, but it's like, so I think Elaine is saying like the parents in China often don't care what the teachers do as long as their students get good marks. Is that what you're saying?
是的，在我读书的年代是这样，但是现在有一个新的趋势，就是家长们越来越看重自己的孩子，就是不允许自己的孩子在学校受到一丁点的委屈。对，现在中国是不允许老师给学生体罚的。
What is 体罚的？
体罚就是
homework, like too much homework?
不是，就是身体上的 punishment。
Right, okay. So you're saying today, nowadays, the schooling systems, the teaching has changed a bit. The teachers are more, maybe less strict, or maybe they don't give out physical punishment.
对，这个在中国现在很敏感。如果学生回去跟家长告状说今天在学校被老师骂了，被老师打了，家长就可以找到学校去投诉，这样子。
Maybe this kind of reminds me of two things. One thing, it reminds me of in Canada, there was a story from a few years ago where one student in the classroom made a video of a teacher. So one student got the teacher angry, and the teacher started, swearing and maybe not swearing, but screaming and telling off a student. And the other student made a video of that and then posted it onto YouTube. And it was very embarrassing for the teacher. So there's this issue with having like cameras, because a smartphone is also a camera, So I thought that was a kind of interesting situation. And that led to that particular high school banning smartphones in the classrooms because of that one incident, that one issue.
Wow.
Now, there are some schools in New Zealand that do ban phones in schools. But in New Zealand's situation, where there's people starting to talk about that now, like, do you think that would benefit New Zealand kids in school, like in high school and in middle school? And do you even think that in China, like, they should ban phones? What is your position? Like, what's your view? What's your opinion on whether or not smartphones should be used in classrooms? Should they be banned or not?
我觉得应该被禁止。我同意。我觉得在课堂上其实有老师的讲解，然后你身边也有很多的同学，你们可以有讨论，然后认真听课，然后你有你的笔记本、课本。我觉得这就是你上课需要的所有东西。你不需要手机，一节课可能45分钟，最多1个半小时。那其实在这样短暂的时间里，我觉得是不需要用到手机，把手机放到一边，认真上好这一堂课，得到你想要学的东西就足够了。因为手机你课后也可以用嘛，对吧？为什么一定要带着手机上课？它的目的是什么？它在课堂上你可以拿它做什么？
Well, I see it's weird because if I'm in the classroom, I would love to use my phone. And I did do that. That's what I did in high school. I was always using my phone.
为什么？
Because it was the thing to do. Everyone was doing it. Everyone was talking. Because that was like the beginning, though, of like texting. But like, let me say, like, if I had kids, it would be different. Like I would want my kids to not use their phones in the class. But I mean, it's very hypocritical. I would love to use my phone in the class, but if I had kids, I don't want them to use it. So it's a terrible double standard.
双重标准，双标。
Yeah, double standard, yeah.
对啊。
Let me ask you another question. Like, I'm on the fence with I sit on the fence with this question. Like, I don't really think it's a good idea, but I don't think it's a bad idea. I think they have to find a way, like in the article they talked about, using the phone for educational purposes in school was acceptable.
对。
But at the same time, they were talking about banning the phone. So it's like, okay, so what are you doing? Are you banning it or are you not banning it? Like, how do you find the middle ground, the grey area in the middle, to use it? Because I think young people today, to ban it in a country is very dangerous for young people, because a lot of what we do now in life and in the world involves being creative online. And creating stuff, like using technology to make stuff, right? And to ban phones with the young people, is a risky move, I think. It's risky business because you want a country to flourish. You want a country to evolve and grow and improve. So you need the young people to be learning about that stuff. So you have to kind of control how you teach them about technology. Very difficult, very complicated. So we'll leave that issue. And I want to ask, do you think you are addicted to your smartphone, Elaine?
有一点儿。我觉得在中国的时候，我对我的手机是非常有瘾的，随时都会带着它。但是很奇怪的是，来新西兰以后，我发现我使用手机频率大大减少。对。
What is that? So you came here and then you started using your phone less.
对。
But you think before that you were a little bit addicted to your phone.
对，因为手机我是苹果手机，它会每周有一个报告，使用你的手机屏幕使用时间多长时间。以前在中国的时候，每个星期8个小时、9个小时，平均8个小时到9个小时一天。现在已经减半了，就是3个或者4个，是很少。
Let me just give a quick translation for that. So in China, she was using her phone about 8 hours a day, which I think is kind of normal, actually. It's not so bad. Actually, no, 8 hours is a lot. That's actually very low.
我也不知道我在干嘛，就哇，怎么又花这么长时间在看手机？
And now you come to New Zealand and you use it half as much, like 4 hours a week, she's saying. And that actually, I went through the exact same thing when I came back last year to New Zealand. I stopped using my... I didn't stop. I also cut it in half, maybe not more than a half, like a third of the time I'm using my phone than I normally would. So China, there's this weird thing happening in China where people are so connected. People are so like involved in their digital life, like their smartphone life. And so that leads me to another question. I want you to take a guess which country, according to recent statistics, there's a recent study. I can't remember who did the study, but I think it's it's one of the big Ivy League universities in America, I think. Anyway, the study was talking about cell phone addiction, smartphone addiction, and looking at 24 different countries and ranking them. What country do you think was number one?
使用手机最多吗？手机成瘾，最厉害的。
Yeah. Take a guess. Any country.
In the world.
In the
世界
world,
上
yeah.
啊，好难啊，这么多国家。中国。
You are correct.
Wow.
Yes, China number one. China number one. Smartphone addicted country. However, it's complicated, right? I think it's complicated. This is what the study doesn't tell you, because I looked at that and I thought, oh yeah, that's probably true. But like, what do you think's wrong about that? Like trying to because it would have been which countries people use their phone for the longest amount of time in a day, for example. Like that's probably what they're looking at. And so like, what's wrong with looking at China, like judging Chinese smartphone users in that way? Do you know what I mean? I mean, I think China is, yes, okay, maybe they are the most addicted, but why are they the most addicted? Is there like something that we don't know about?
啊，这个问题。
And I'm going to drink my coffee.
好问题啊，我想一下。对，首先这个研究，我想知道它是一个什么样的衡量标准，说中国人对手机的瘾最大，是因为中国人使用手机时间最长吗？那我觉得这也是有原因的。我觉得很重要的一个原因是在中国，你拥有一部手机，你就拥有了所有你想要的东西，各种各样的社交软件。你想去看电影，你可以在手机上买电影票；你想吃东西，各种各样的软件，你可以订外卖。所以，我觉得手机在中国是非常非常便利的一个东西，因为它太方便了，所以大家都用它，这是一个很重要的原因。
Okay, so at the end, Elaine says it's 太方便了, right?
对。
Too overly convenient.
对。
And she's being very nice as well. I think it's she's just giving a real simple explanation for things you can do, like buying food, or ordering takeout, going to see a movie. Those things, you use your phone to like book the tickets, to order the food, to communicate with the delivery man. Even just buying things in general, just buying anything, you use your phone to purchase it.
对啊。
And this is a very, very simple explanation, but it's far more. There's so many things you can do on a phone in China that you can't do in New Zealand. New Zealand is not even on the list of like addicted smartphone countries, and it's not because people here are not addicted to their phones, but it's because we just don't have the number of things that you can do that Chinese people have, or like the accepted ways of using your phone in New Zealand are far less than in China. So in China you just have so many different things you can do, and you travel a lot more in China. So people are watching like all kinds of dramas, anime, K-pop stuff, right? You have like so many apps for just consuming videos and music. And
这些都花时间，而且你在中国跟朋友聊天也是使用手机啊，就不知不觉就真的很奇怪，为什么一打开手机，有一个朋友曾经告诉我，每天晚上睡之前10点在床上躺着，然后就看手机，也没有人跟他聊天，他就各个不同的 app。先打开这个，关掉，再打开另一个，不知不觉凌晨3点，不知道干嘛。
So you are spoiled for choice, basically, in China, and it's easy to build, like, to have a lot of friends in China as well, and then having something like WeChat, the app in China. WeChat is like the God app. I call it the God app.
God app, yeah.
Because if you don't have WeChat, what happens if you don't have WeChat in China? You're dead, right?
对
You're nothing.
社会性死亡
You have no life. There's so many things you can't do. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't not use WeChat. Like it's incredibly helpful. Like it's just been, I'm surprised they don't have like a WeChat smartphone. You know what I mean? Like they just have it as an app, and so China's number one for smartphone addiction, according to this study and probably other studies. But there's something else happening where the lifestyle or the way of living in China has become synonymous. It's become like using your phone has become part of that experience, like just your everyday life. You have to use your phone for so many things, and communicating with your boss, communicating with your teacher and your colleagues, your student friends.
是的
It's all interconnected in such a way that it's inescapable. And I think that's what the study doesn't reflect, is that China is actually kind of more evolved or much more reliant or dependent on smartphone technology or just technology in general, you know, social media, and just consuming content. Games are another big one. So I saw an article recently that China wants to limit, or has, maybe they've already been trying to limit kids' use of using, you know, devices like smartphones and tablets. But I saw an article recently saying that they want to reduce, I think if you're under the age of 18, you get like 1 hour a day or 3 hours a day to use. Have you heard about this?
有听说过，就是我觉得对中国的家长们应该是很希望自己的孩子能够少用一些电子设备，如果一定要用，也需要有一定的时间限制，或者是有一定的就是比如说我有一个侄子，他的妈妈会让他使用平板，但是每次使用平板都是看一些教育性的视频，就是而且会有时间限制，因为这样会对他的眼睛不好。然后像中国有一款游戏叫王者荣耀，你听说过没？
Yes.
对，像这样子的，它好像是需要实名登记，就是你必须要使用你的身份证，看你是不是未成年。如果你是未成年的话，那么你在玩这个游戏，它每天是有时间限制，你达到时间限制就不让你玩了。
For some parents, Elaine is saying like there's a problem with kids' eyesight.
对，会担心这个，真的。
Eyesight is a big deal in China, like it's a big problem.
是的。
So using devices is an issue for people's eyesight, young people in particular. But she was also saying like there's a game called 王者荣耀, which is in English we translate this game. The name is Kings of Glory, I think. And this game has become incredibly popular. It's kind of like WoW or LOL, I think, similar to those games.
手机游戏。
And so they've had to put restrictions on that particular game. And most games in China, I think, and if you go to the internet cafe to play games, you have to use your ID card.
对的。
That's actually really annoying because there was a game I really loved to play on my phone when I was in China, and now I can't play it because I don't have a Chinese ID.
什么游戏？
It was called 球球大作战 and I really love this game.
球球大作战，我好像有听说过。
It's so addictive. So addictive. And I can't play it now because I don't have Chinese ID and I'm so 失望.
我可以借给你
好失望。
我的 ID。
The other thing for like foreigners like playing like Chinese made games in China is that they're always in Chinese and they never have English. And it's so ridiculous trying to learn things. Like you need friends to help you, you know.
是的。
There's so many people tried to teach me how to play 王者荣耀 and I still can't play it. Like I just gave up because it's quite complicated.
对，我也觉得很难。我读大一的时候，这个游戏就开始流行，然后整个4年期间，大学4年，我的室友、我身边的朋友都在玩，他们也试着教我玩，然后我也有为了融入这个大家庭，我有试着玩，但是我真的很菜，就不会玩。我可能天生就不太会玩游戏。
So that was when you were in 大一, so that's your first year of university. That game became
6-7年了。
Okay, but you're not very good at it. But maybe you are pretty good at it, but there's so many people that play it that it's just like,
是的。
you know, it just makes most people seem like they're not that good. But then there are people that just spend so much time on playing that game. It's like the competition, the level is so high. Yeah.
对，有一段时间我也蛮上瘾的，每天都要来几把，就后面就没意思，不玩了。然后身边的人也都不玩了。
Well, I don't know if we didn't really get to the bottom of this issue, but what we're trying to show people or tell people is that in China, the addiction to smartphones, yes, people are probably quite addicted, but also it's the environment, it's the lifestyle, it's the conditions. When you live in China, you find that your phone becomes such a useful tool.
对的。
And it's very hard to just not use it. And you're often quite forced. A lot of people are forced to use their phones a lot. And that's another issue. We probably don't have time to talk about that issue. But maybe in another video we can. This idea of how the phones are in China in particular are sort of designed, the apps are designed and the culture is designed in a way where it's very easy for people to become forced into using their phones or with a forced addiction almost, but that's another issue. But basically I think in China you just have so much power like with your phone. So you can just do so much that you do eventually, and I feel like that made me feel kind of stressed and a little bit nervous sometimes, you know, like maybe anxious, because you're on your phone so much. But yeah, I mean, it's bad, but it's great, it's good, like the level of convenience. But
对，我想说我对手机也很矛盾，就是我真的有的时候我真的不想用太长时间的手机。我知道手机对我吸引力太大了，我如果一直用它的话会浪费很多时间，但是你让我把手机放开1个小时不看它也是很难的一件事情，我觉得我做不到，就是这样子的。但只能说尽量少看手机，多做一些有意义的事情，尽量就算是使用手机也是做有用的事情，不要老是看小红书。
well, 小红书 it's hard to say because I want to say maybe later I'll put Regan Radio on 小红书。
你可以的。
Okay, so Elaine is saying something like, you know, be productive.
对。
Not just always consuming things, maybe try to create something, make something, or just put it down.
对。
But that's so difficult to do. Like, that's even Elaine is saying, like, it's hard for her to just put her phone down for 1 hour.
对啊。
And I feel the same way. All right, so anyway, I don't know if we got to the bottom of this issue of smartphone addiction.
是的。
And banning smartphones.
我也不知道我说了些什么。
Yeah, I don't think there's a good answer to these questions. Yeah. Anyway, we'll probably just leave it here. Otherwise, we're going to talk until we die.
是的。
Thanks for coming along. Thanks for chatting.